Hey everybody, welcome to Galactic Wisdom. Thank you for being with me today. First of all, I've got the flu or COVID or something. I'm okay, I'm past the worst of it, but if you hear it in my voice and if I'm coughing or spluttering or sneezing, that's why. I apologize. But right now, I'm feeling okay, so we're going to push forwards with this.
You look great.
Thank you very much, Rick. Now, I have been on tour in Europe, hosting a few Alien Contact events. So I want to just thank everybody who came out to my events when I was in France, in Calais, in Wales. We went to the location where American Werewolf in London was filmed, those opening scenes in Wales. It was freezing cold and raining, and it was too cold to stay out there for more than about 20 minutes. It was really bad. And we didn't see any werewolves, but it was fun. It was nice to
that you know of.
Well, that's a point. I did not take.
Might just be good at hiding. You never know.
I didn't do the full moon test on them. Yeah. So, Rick, I would like to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And how do I pronounce your name and your stage name? Do you want to tell people?
Well, my real name is Rick Kiesau, Kiesau, but I went by Rick Ryan. So sometimes it's Rick Ryan Kiesau. I just go with that. And that's, so if you want to Google me, whatever, type in Rick Ryan plus Babylon 5 or whatever, and a bunch of stuff will come up. I haven't really done that much, but that's my story and I'm sticking with it.
So you have been, is the term background actor? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. Sometimes it was background. Sometimes I was heavily featured. Like I have several scenes where it's just me and one other person on Babylon 5. So I worked for 5 years on that show. I was in nearly every episode. And they used me a lot because I never complained about money. Like a lot of times people will do something that's considered a stunt and they'll want more money and they'll always cave because they don't want the union, the Screen Actors Guild down their throat. So they'll just give it to them, but they won't come back the next day. But I was willing to do anything. I would, fly up in the air, fall on my back, never complained, and always showed up. So that's why I got the 5-year gig.
Fantastic.
And I ended up playing over 23 aliens that I know of. I have photographs of 23 of them. There might be a couple more, but I don't know if that's some sort of record or not. But that's just what I did. I just, like I said, sometimes I was just walking around in the background. Other times I'm, doing scenes with the stars of the show. So it was just kind of never knew day to day.
Well, fantastic. So you fit right into our show here because you're probably one of the most alien humans on the planet.
Probably. Well, the funny thing is, we were talking about this earlier, is I never really watched the show Babylon 5. I saw a few episodes of it. If I knew I was highly featured, then I would watch it. So I wanted to see how I did, but I never really even watched the show. So I have absolutely no wisdom whatsoever when it comes to the, I don't even know what the storyline is really about, except that it's, in space. That's about it.
Yeah. What's going to happen today is I'm going to be asking Rick about his experiences on these shows because I'm a fan and I'm sure a lot of the people out here watching are fans of this show. And I'm going to try and chip in little bits of interesting wisdom associated with the characters on these shows. And it's not just Babylon 5 that you were acting in. You're also in Star Trek The Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And
a couple episodes of Deep Space Nine. Got a funny story at some point if you want to hear my Deep Space Nine story. It's kind of funny. And then I know you're a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was in one episode of that. I was vampire number 4. And guess how many vampires there were that day?
4. Well, here's a photo of you on Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine, yeah.
So what's your Deep Space Nine story?
Oh, well, I was a Starfleet officer, and there was this old British guy. He was dressed in civilian clothing on the set, and his line, and I'm right behind. There's me, this guy here, and then I'm here, and this other woman's here. We're doing just Starfleet stuff, just typing on the nonsense. And his line was supposed to be, "She was beautiful. She was the daughter of a local dignitary." But on the first take, he said, "She was beautiful. She was the daughter of a local dictionary." Everybody busted up laughing. Everybody had a good laugh. But this girl and I couldn't shake it. So we were laughing take after take. And we're doing this. My back's to the camera. And we're doing shaking, trying not to laugh. And it was so hard. This went on for 15 minutes probably. And finally we got through it, but without ruining the take. But it was kind of funny.
I'm going to have to find that episode.
I can't remember the name of it. I had somebody send me the scene one time, and you can't tell at all that we were laughing. So we did whatever little acting skills I have, I guess I put to use in that situation.
So here's an image of you in a Starfleet uniform. Can you tell us when this photo was taken?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was in the movie Generations. We actually had to audition to be the main Starfleet. And while we were on set of Next Generation, they were letting us audition, the people who were already on the show. We were given first crack at it. So they had us, about 4 of us, standing at a table doing Starfleet stuff, looking around, and the, bigwigs are right in front of us, the director and the, writers, everything, and they're giving us direction. One guy is. So he says, all right, you're under attack. Now the ship gets hit from the left. So I went like this to my left. That's how you think if you get hit this way. Everybody else went the other way. They went to the right. Like they had some special Starfleet training that I didn't know about. And I clunked heads with the girl next to me and got cut out. I didn't get the part because of that. But to this day, I still think I did the right thing. But we'll have to have some physicists. You're a physicist. You should.
I'm a space scientist. And if you're getting attacked from this way, then to my left, that is, then the craft is going to do that, but you're going to stay where you are. So you're going to appear on set to move in the direction from which you've been attacked.
Exactly.
You did the right thing.
I did the right thing. I got cut out, but then they called me a few weeks later and asked if I wanted to be in the movie anyway. And I'm like, yep, I sure do. So I ended up working on it. I don't remember how many days.
That's cool. And do you remember when this was taken?
Yeah, that's the very last episode of Next Generation. That was there was some sort of flashback. I can't remember what it was. I remember there was a writer's strike or something going on at the time. And so the women were dressed in retro. Yeah, that was the final. That woman's name is I can't remember her name. But this is the very, very last episode of the entire series. So I ended up having one line in the show. I'm Fletcher. He says, Fletcher, and I say, aye, sir. He says, we're going to be burning the midnight oil. And then Data comes up and goes, I would not recommend burning things on the ship, Data-like.
Yeah, that's a good episode. All good things.
Yep, that was the name of the episode. Yep. So I'm seen throughout that. So it just, not super heavily featured. But, and that picture right there, that's probably the last time Picard took a photograph with the crew. That might have been one of the very last days of shooting. And it was. And he was just walking down the hall, and we're all sitting in there in our Starfleet uniforms. And I chased him down. And I said, Patrick, do you mind getting a picture with us? And he said, absolutely, I would love to. So that we took a couple pictures. So that's the one that came out. So I'm right behind him, right above his glowing bald head, beautiful bald head.
That's cool.
And that's me to his right. I'm a Borg. I was just in I think it was the first episode of season 7. I can't remember the name of it. So I was just running around doing Borg stuff, whatever Borg do. Probably overacting if I know myself like I think I do.
Fantastic. Now, I'm going to pause as we go through this show today and try and talk a little bit about some of the wisdom associated with these characters. Now, I know, Rick, that you didn't really watch the show. You didn't really follow the story. Mm-hmm. But I'm a fan of...
Babylon 5 you're talking?
Next Generation, Babylon 5, and Buffy. A couple of weeks ago, I decided, okay, there's nothing on streaming I want to watch right now. I'm going to get out all my old DVDs and Blu-rays and put the first disc of the first season of about 6 of my favorite shows by my TV, and I'm just going to watch through all the first some strange noise going on in my
aliens.
Did you all hear that? I've had lights flashing in that room the last 2 days, and something just...
You brought a werewolf home from London.
Could be, who knows? But yeah, three of the TV series that I've put out there are Babylon 5, which has been voted as being several times has been voted by sci-fi fans aficionados as the best sci-fi show of all time. It's been voted as the best sci-fi show of all time several times. Now, wow. Yeah. So Babylon 5, and it's so intelligently written. It's written by somebody who understands science, which is valuable when you're trying to do science fiction. And the story progression through the 5 seasons is phenomenal. But I've also got out there Next Generation and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and you acted in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So let me talk a little bit about some of the wisdom that we can get from these shows. There are some shows out there, not all of them sci-fi, but some shows out there, when you watch the show, they've been written in a way that guide you through moral dilemmas, moral issues, make you consider moral principles. And with science fiction, one of the wonderful things about science fiction is you can take an issue that we all face on this planet. It could be anything at all. And you can create a planet where that issue is in the extreme. And you can create situations that maybe you don't get directly on Earth, but allow you to really analyze in detail the depths of a moral subject. That's one of the wonderful things about sci-fi. And in Next Generation, Captain Picard is a really nice, moral guy. He's very strong. He always tries to do the right thing. If anybody ever is looking for a role model, Captain Picard, before they made the new series, they had to degrade him and make him fallible and stuff like this for a modern audience. But in the original series, he wasn't fallible, but he always really tried very, very hard to do the right thing. And it sounds a bit like Patrick Stewart was a bit like that in real life. You had a positive interaction with him, didn't you?
Well, I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You had a positive interaction with.
Oh, yeah. I was in an episode called Attached, where Picard and Crusher were trapped in a jail cell together, and they're trying to figure out how to get out. He says, "Beverly, there's a solution to every problem, a way out of every box. Just a matter of finding it." And my Patrick Stewart's spot on. There I am. So I come in with this dinner tray and a gun, and I'm on screen just for 8 seconds, just me. And they open up the dinner tray, and it turns out to be an escape route. She said it's a tricorder, and there's something been added to the bloody blah, whatever. So I back out of the room, and the door slams, and he goes, "Damn!" So then they shot their thing about 9 times, 10 times, and I'm the actor's always behind the camera doing the scene, even when they're not seen on camera. So I was did all the takes. Then they said to Picard and Crusher, they said, "You two can go back to your room. We're going to shoot Rick's thing a couple times, 2 takes." And she took off, and he stayed. And the director, Jonathan Frakes, said, "Well, what? You can go back to your room." He goes, "Well, who's he going to act with?" And he stayed just so I had someone to look at, just for the eye line. And I heard from someone later that when he was up and coming, some famous person he was in a scene with did the same thing for him. He stayed just so he had someone to look at during the scene. So I thought that was cool. He treated me like a real actor, and I never forgot that. I always thought, hope to see him someday and just be like, that was pretty cool, doing that. And it was such an easy scene. Anyone could have done it. And it required no acting whatsoever. Then don't make any, facial expressions. That was about it. But it was still pretty cool.
That is very cool to know that him as a person has the same sort of qualities as his character. Yeah,
like when he took that picture with us, like he was more than happy to do it. He knew that it would be cool for us to get a picture with him in the last episode. So yeah, he definitely same person in real life.
I actually saw him in London many years ago when he did A Christmas Carol, and he's on stage, and he just, from memory, says the whole book. It's like it's almost impossible for me to comprehend how. I mean, I can get how actors can learn a few lines, learn an entire script, but a whole book, and he did it phenomenally well.
When I had my line in the final episode, Icer, I was like, the action, and then he says Fletcher, and I go, line. But if it had been 3 words, then I would have had a problem.
Yeah. When I saw Patrick Stewart coming outside of the theater, he had on this scarf, which I told him, "Hey, Patrick, that reminds me of, you look more like Doctor Who, Tom Baker, than Captain Picard." And he's like, "Oh, I take that as a great compliment. Thank you." Doctor Who, or the Doctor, he's another alien character who embodies morality. in a very very strong way. At least he used to before they degraded him in the modern series. I think it feels like writers today, so many writers, don't get characters that don't have faults. They can't relate to them, and they degrade them. They put them down. They give them flaws in order that they can be, I guess, accepted more easily. They did it with Captain Picard. They did it with Doctor Who. They did it with Luke Skywalker in a really bad way in one of the recent Star Wars movies. I used to love all of those characters for their high moral standing, always trying to do the right thing, and then they nowadays they just bring them down, very sadly.
Yeah. So, what's your opinion, real quick, on the newer Star Wars movies? Do you like those? Are they? Because I've heard mixed reviews about them. I haven't seen any of them, but I've heard good and bad.
Oh, controversial subject. Well, some people are going to leave because of this, but I have to say it. You know, I think J.J. Abrams did a very good job of being respectful in The Force Awakens. He tried to bring in new characters, but while also being respectful. And he sets up this really interesting storyline where Luke Skywalker is out there somewhere in the galaxy, and they're tracking him down. He's left clues to find them. They find him at the end of that first new movie. And they set up the story really well with a lot of mysteries and what's going on and who is Rey. And then the next movie, The Last Jedi, they just throw it all away. This guy comes across, the director comes across like he really doesn't like any of the characters. He really doesn't like Star Wars. He just completely destroyed everything that Star Wars was.
Wow.
For me personally. The idea of a Jedi being a high moral character who is in tune with like a spiritual force, but also has this ability to defend themselves with this super cool fighting. That sort of comes from martial arts like Shaolin monks and things like that. It's a very cool concept to me. I actually am a black belt karate instructor. I really like that sort of thing. And then they just threw all that away and made this Luke Skywalker an old, grumpy man. They did the same with Obi-Wan Kenobi in a recent series. They don't get what the Jedi were. So yeah, I would say steer clear of the last three. Okay,
good to know. Not that I was going to watch them anyway, but I'll definitely watch Babylon 5 first before. Hold on 1 second. I got to shut a door in here.
Yeah. So here's another picture of Rick.
Okay, I'm back.
Here you are dressing up like the Borg.
Oh yeah, that was me getting ready. I had my own little box and everything.
Yeah. Now we did have a question from one of our audience members who was asking about makeup and the process of makeup. How was that process? Did it take a long time? Were some alien characters in Next Generation and Babylon 5, were they easier? Were they harder? Can you tell us anything about that?
On Babylon 5, the Minbari was the easiest because it was only makeup. What they would do is, there it is right there. It was only from here up. So they put essentially Elmer's glue on your face, cover it, and then take the...
Okay, the internet just froze there. I don't know if you can still hear me, Rick, but it looks like your internet may have cut out. Oh, no, you're still there. Your internet is a bit shoddy. Do you want to try and join again? Maybe try and join on your phone, and then we'll continue the conversation.
I think it should.
I'm gonna keep talking about the Borg here and the Minbari while Rick is trying to join again. The Borg bring in an interesting concept, and that is of a collective mind. They are in touch with each other in a way that is actually comparable to. There you are. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. You're visually you're not moving smoothly. So it seems like the
Oh,
connection
okay.
is very slow.
Oh, choppy.
It's very choppy. Do you want to
Okay.
try talking more about the Membari, and we'll see if we can hear you?
Sure. Yeah. So the Mimbar, all the makeups, Narns and the Drazies, they had a whole head thing that would just leave your face. Yeah, that's the Mimbar right there. It would so your whole head would be covered, so you hear very well. Do your entire face and just take a mask, foam rub, it's kind of like a Nerf football, real soft, and just glue it to your face. And then they'd spend an hour and a half just blending in the eyes and Minbari. That one's what's going on there. It looked fabulous in that picture, though. So the main amount of time was spent on blending it so it looked perfect, and they did a really good job. But it would just be hours of just brushing and then paints like airbrushing. So that's what took the longest. The longest application I ever had, for some reason, was the Borg. That took, I remember, almost 3.5 hours. And it doesn't seem that complicated because it's just painting your face white and then gluing a bunch of crap to your face. But with the wardrobe and the makeup, it was a good 3.5 hours. And it was hard to sit, so they had crash pads for us, so we could just fall backwards on these crash pads in between scenes, and we'd just lay there, and they'd bring us some water or whatever, and then someone would help you up. Going to the bathroom, that was a whole nother story. That was a 20-minute process just to get all the stuff off and back on. So I try not to drink as much water as you possibly can.
Yeah. And here you are. You're the guy that Patrick Stewart. You can see his hand on your shoulder there.
Yep.
And
that's me. So do you have a picture? There's a picture of me with these long fingers on. Do you have that picture? It was from that was from Babylon 5. I think there was an episode where I think Malari got captured by gray aliens. So I was one of those aliens. I had just a mask on, but I looked just like a typical gray alien. But those fingers were glued on. They had to blend those with my actual hands because there's a close-up of me with a laser pointer kind of thing, 3 lasers. So those fingers were hollow. So I couldn't go to the bathroom, to put it politely. So I had to go. I had to go number 1. So I couldn't get my pants down because the fingers would break in half or they would bend. So I couldn't figure out. So I asked everybody. I was like, can you help me out? Like, can somebody help me just, get this done? Nobody would do it. So finally somebody came up with a butter knife, and I kind of just jammed it in there and pulled my pants down and went. But that was a tough day for me. Trying to eat and everything was a little tough.
Yeah. And this is you again.
Yeah, that's the Drazi makeup. That's the mask that they just plaster onto your face. He's taking it off. It's a stuff called Detach-All, which is the solvent. Without that stuff, you're going to have a hard time getting that off. It was on there really well. And there was one day I think it was 1996. I had 2 jobs. I would leave Babylon 5. Then I managed a bar. It was a billiards club in Glendale, California. And we opened up a salsa club in the bottom. It was the very first night, opening night. And that was the one day that we ran really late. And I was dressed as a bricchieri, which has a similar application as this, what you're looking at right here. And I didn't have time to take it off. So I went to the studio as fast as I could with this alien makeup on. I looked horrifying if you're just out in public. And I had to bartend like that all night. And they had Univision there. It was the Mexican TV station. And they were, interviewing people for this opening salsa club. And they thought that I wore this on purpose, that it was some sort of, cool little thing for opening night. And it wasn't. So they interviewed me, and the lady puts a microphone in front of my face. I got the camera crew, and she's like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, see, didn't know what to say. Like, okay. So that night, when it slowed down a little bit, not making this up, there was a woman sitting at the bar. And she said, my husband is a plastic surgeon. He might be able to help you, and gave me his business card. And I said, this is just makeup. And I let her touch it. And she goes, I didn't know. I was wondering about that, but I just thought maybe. I was like, got to drum up business for the mister when you're out, at a salsa club. That's
fascinating. Now I'm gonna go back over some of the beings we've talked about, because I'd like to relate this. For a lot of our viewers really interested in real aliens. And I'd like us to just consider, with beings like the Borg here, who have a collective consciousness. That gives them an advantage. It gives them an evolutionary advantage. It gives them an edge because they think as one being instead of many.
Like AI.
Yeah. Like being connected through artificial intelligence, through the internet, through Skynet, or, and when people have on this planet encounters with these alien beings that people feel are real, these beings don't talk to them through their mouths, they talk to them telepathically. And when you have that telepathic communication, you actually set up collectives. That's a future stage in our evolution. Now, a lot of people watching this show have psychic, little snippets of psychic stuff going on. Like they will feel suddenly that somebody has died that they know, and then they'll discover that, yes, that person just died. Or, things like that. You call each other at the same time. Or there are people here who see ghosts, who can communicate with extra dimensional beings like ghosts and aliens. This is us moving in the direction as a species of being able to connect with each other as a collective. Now, I have somewhere down here an image of another person who is here. Here we go. That's you on the right, I believe, and in the middle here is a telepath, from Psychor, and this crops up a lot in sci-fi where you have telepathic connections, and the reality of having these telepathic connections in the real world is that when you can feel the emotions of others, you care about others more. Not just your species, but all species. So actually the natural evolutionary route is that when you become more spiritual, more psychic, and you connect more easily with others, morality actually increases because the pain of somebody else over there is felt by you. Their pain is your pain. And so I'm not sure that these shows have got the telepathic connection right. These shows tend to show the negative possibilities of having telepathic connections, but it's certainly very interesting to theorize on this.
Now, the word empath, I've done a little bit of research into that. You know anything about that? Because I think I'm one of them. Because when I'm around sad people, I get sad, and I think a percentage of people. Do you know anything about that subject?
Yeah. Empaths are, telepaths is where you can hear basically the thoughts. You can communicate psychically. Empaths are when you feel the emotions of somebody, like Counselor Troy in The Next Generation. You feel the emotions of others, and that's one of the things that I am. I'm a very, very strong empath. If you're somebody who gets upset when you see other people being hurt, then that shows a high level of empathy, and there may even be a psychic connection there that you're experiencing the actual emotions of somebody else.
Do you find that empaths get taken advantage of a lot? Because I've loaned so many people money. Whenever someone has a sob story, I can't say no to them because it hurts me to hear the story. So, like currently, I think I have like $18,000 loaned out to people over the years that I'm never getting back. So, is that a common thing?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I hate to say it, but yeah, the more empathic you are, the more you care about others, the more you open yourself up to being hurt by others.
Yep, exactly.
It's the price you have to pay. Yeah.
Say that one more time.
It's the price that we pay for caring about others, I think.
What percentage of people do you think are considered empaths?
Well, that's a good question. I do not know the answer. When I look at, again, another controversial subject, but when I look at who people vote for in this country, in the US, I think that probably about half the percentage of this country really don't care too much about other people. It's all about themselves. So I would say definitely less than 50%. But empathic on a spiritual level is I don't know, less than 5%, I would say.
Okay, well, I have this. This is not a good quality of mine, but this has happened many, many times where if I get really, really mad at someone to the point where I can feel it, it's almost like a physical feeling. Something bad happens to them, and I don't do it on purpose. But it happened here in this restaurant when I first started. My boss, 6.5 years ago, really, really pissed me off. She just said something degrading to me, and I was so mad at her, and I could feel like the anger. And at that moment in the back room, she said she fell down and she was paralyzed for about 5 minutes. She couldn't move. And that was at exactly the same time that I was mad at her. And I got over it and I stopped being mad. But just at that same time, and it's happened several other times with this same person, unfortunately, where bad things have happened. So I don't know if that's a common thing or not.
Yeah. If you're angry with somebody, if you're thinking bad things about somebody, whether they deserve it or not, that is a psychic negative connection that you have with them, and that can result in harm to them. I actually can feel when people are like hating on me. I can feel it as a spiritual attack, and
Wow.
I have to put up spiritual boundaries. Yeah. So
Wow.
it sounds to me like you have spiritual or psychic abilities, and it would be fascinating to explore that sometime.
Yeah, I mean, and being an empath is got its good and bad things, because when I'm around negative people, even if they're not saying anything negative, I just kind of shut down and I'm not funny anymore. But when I'm around really positive people, it's like a flower blooming where I just become like I'm on, and it's almost like something around you is interfering with your spiritual thought process or whatever.
Definitely, yeah. And you've given me some wonderful photos, so I'm going to bring these up again. I think this scene is in the opening shot of season 1, maybe of Babylon 5, and that's you holding the stringed instrument.
Yeah, I think somebody named it one time. It's a lute or something. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I had no idea how to play that thing, so I'm just kind of strumming it. I think that might have been the same day. That's me and Mira Furlan. She played one of the stars of the show. So I had several scenes with her quite often. I was just kind of always there in the Minbari stuff. There's one, I'm on one of these trading cards where it's, I didn't even know the storyline at the time, but I guess apparently somebody had stolen the ashes of a Minbari leader or something. And, shit was going to hit the fan unless they were returned. So there's a picture of me in the scene holding the ashes, holding the urn. And they're kind of looking at me suspiciously. It was Jerry Doyle, the captain at the time, can't remember his name, and Mira, and they're all looking at me. But what's ironic about that is those three have all passed away. So in the picture, they're looking at me suspiciously holding ashes, and I'm the only one that's still around. So I just thought that was kind of like, oof.
That is, yeah. And
there's that was a bad day. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
I think I talked back to my girlfriend or something.
Were those bones, did they have a bone-like texture? Were they rigid or were they soft?
Nope, just like a Nerf football. The face covering was a lot softer, it was a sponge, but much lighter. The bone was rigid, but just like a Nerf football. So it was the same kind of thing. So it wasn't heavy at all. It wasn't like you're going around trying to hold your head up or anything. I mean, just maybe from the alcohol, but no, I never did that. I never should have a few times, but it was all of it was just foam rubber, real light. And the same with the Borg outfit. It was just made out of plastic and tubes, just stuff you could buy at a hardware store. It was all just kind of rigged together, nothing. Yeah. Like those tubes, I think they're actually from a hardware store. So a lot of that stuff was just kind of, and same with the props. A lot of those props, especially on Babylon 5, you're like, wait, I had that as a kid. I had that toy, and they just glued some stuff on it to make it look like, What's funny about the speaking of props, in the final episode of Next Generation, if you have that, I'm holding this, Data's behind me, and I'm holding this, what looks kind of like an iPad, but that wasn't a concept in 1993. So it's just funny that they have this 2-inch thick pad, that thing right there, that was considered futuristic. I don't know when Star Trek takes place, but we have stuff a lot more advanced than that now. But it's just interesting that they didn't foresee what technology would become. That right there was considered like, oh, maybe someday we'll be walking around with those things. And now, here we are. We got them, that right there. So
now, several of our audience members have sent in questions.
Okay.
And I've got about 5 questions here for you.
Okay.
First question, somebody would like to know a little bit more about the atmosphere on the different sets.
Whoa.
So how do you compare the atmosphere on B5 to Next Generation to Buffy?
Yeah, Next Generation was in Paramount Studios, so it was very much more rigid. We weren't allowed to have cameras on the set, so all those pictures that you saw, I would have gotten fired for probably. We weren't allowed to have photography or wander around the set, which I did both of those things. I wandered around. I have some pictures on the set of Next Generation, but on B5, it was more than welcome. We could have cameras, video cameras, everything. And we were just out in the middle of nowhere. We were 30 miles north of LA in an old warehouse that made hot tubs. So we're at the end of a cul-de-sac. So right next to us is a car paint factory, and nobody knew what we were doing. So we were kind of, in the back of the cul-de-sac, so nobody could see us. There were fences all around us. That's where our lunch tent was and everything. So it was very, very laid back. There was one guy who would bring a paintball to the studio, and we'd sit, and the 5 freeway was 100 feet away, but elevated a little bit above us. And he'd be shooting cars with his paint gun. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so crazy. But none of that would happen on Next Generation or Deep Space Nine. It was boring. The sets were boring, in my opinion. No real fun was had. But on Babylon 5, it was, Jerry Doyle playing, practical jokes. And, it was a fun atmosphere, like a family, because we're away from the studios. We can just do whatever we want.
Fabulous. And what about Buffy?
Buffy, I was only there for 2 days, and that was all right. I mean, none of the cast was particularly well. Actually, Sarah Michelle Gellar was really friendly. She actually invited me. We're in the my friend and I were both in the show, and we're having dinner. And she came up to me and said, "Hey, you want to have dinner in my trailer?" Not like a sexual way, because just we had a mutual friend who happened to be visiting the set. My roommate at the time was friends with her. So she invited me, and I'm like, "See you guys later. I'm out of here." So she was really cool. But it was more of a professional atmosphere than anything.
Fantastic. I actually was living in Santa Monica at the time when Buffy was being filmed, and my landlady at the time had some business on the set of Buffy. And so she knew I was a fan. She invited me to go with her, and we went onto the set, and we got shown into this studio where they were just about to film a scene. And they like red lights started coming on, or announcements like everybody leave the set, we're just about to start filming, and everybody left the set. But I stood there and looked like I was important. I did my own little bit of acting, and everybody just looked at me and walked past me and just accepted me being there. So I stood there and watched them film this scene, which is a dinner table, and Anya is there. I can't remember specifically which episode it is, but it's like in the past when there was some big battle going on in the city around them, and vampires had been killing people. But I got to see that scene. And I was in the Santa Monica Albertsons one time late at night, probably after pubbing, when I noticed Spike walking around, James Masters.
Was he in his makeup?
He was in his makeup, and he was with a vampiress, and they looked so cool. And I went over and said hello, and really embarrassed myself by interrupting their lives in a fan-like way.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's kind of well known that in Hollywood, it's if you see a celebrity, you're supposed to just be cool, like you don't really even notice, and just like they're another person. And I had a girlfriend who at the time lived in Orange County, so she didn't know about all this Hollywood stuff. So I rented a guest house a mile up in the Hollywood Hills, and my roommate had a birthday party, and Neil Patrick Harris came. She was friends with him. And I just shook his hand and said, "Welcome, he's in my house." And my girlfriend at the time looks at him, she goes, "Oh my God, you're the guy from How I Met Your Mother. I love that show." And I'm like, "Oh, Lana, no." She didn't know the rules,
Yeah. And you've told me a story about when you were still in makeup, sometimes you would actually go home, sometimes in makeup.
Yeah, right there, yep. Yeah, that little girl on the left, she was my next door neighbor, and the burkini I could wear home because they didn't reuse the face piece that came off in pieces. So it was garbage. I wish I had kept some of them. Sometimes it will come off in like one piece, and I didn't have the forethought to keep that stuff. So I thought, and that was my real hair. So all I had to do was I had a bottle of this detach-all stuff, which was the solvent that takes off the makeup. I had a bottle at home. So I would wear it home sometimes and just go to the store or whatever. And I knocked on that little girl's my neighbor. I knocked on the door, and she opens the door and looks up and goes, "Hey, Rick." And I'm like, "No, you're supposed to freak out. This is scary stuff." So we got a couple pictures, but yeah, I just walked around for a few hours, just, trying to freak people out. Nobody's really freaked out. They're like, "Oh, it's Rick."
That's hilarious. Here you are on Babylon 5. You were
Yeah, that was the first time I ever had a line on Babylon 5. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I was a fighter pilot, and Jerry Doyle. Oh, man, what am I doing there? I don't remember that. There's a pilot missing in the episode, and Jerry Doyle's supposed to walk into the pilot room and say, "Any word yet?" And he refused to do it. He wouldn't do it. He said, "My character would not be there. I won't do it." And he insisted. So they said, "Rick, you're up." So there was my first line. "Any word yet?" And we figured out, I think it was like 11 letters. We figured out I was one of the highest paid actors that day in Hollywood based on how many letters were in their scene. So I got $585 for the day, and I still get residuals, these little checks for, $1.75. I played residual roulette where I see it. It's got the Screen Actors Guild logo, and I'm like, money. And it's always, I open it up and it's like $9. And I'm like, so I have all these little checks I'm never going to cash sitting around my apartment.
Oh dear.
That's interesting. Yeah, I got a lot of response from that picture. I didn't realize how important that picture was, because that's the two captains, and me as a Minbari lumberjack. Apparently, that's a thing. So yeah, I got thousands and thousands of likes and hearts and all that stuff from just that picture alone. And I had it explained to me why it was such a big deal for Babylon 5 fans, anyway.
Yeah, those are the two main characters of Babylon 5, Sinclair and Sheridan.
Mm-hmm. And Michael O'Hare, we didn't know about his struggles with mental illness. I know that's a well-known thing among Babylon 5 fans, but we didn't know it at the time until he left. And then we would hear stories about him living in New York, basically homeless, struggling with schizophrenia after he left the show, and he passed away shortly after that. So it was a really, really sad story about him, but we just had no idea. J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5, he promised that he wouldn't ever say a word about what he was going through. He knew very well. He was having a hard time just on the set, just trying to keep it together. And he promised until he died he wouldn't say a word. Then he, let everybody know what he was going through. And we were all like, "Oh my God, I didn't know any of that."
Mm-hmm. That's very sad.
Yeah. But Bruce Boxleitner was great. He was a great replacement, just a fun guy. And speaking of Babylon 5 actors, Jerry Doyle I cannot tell this joke. It's the worst, most horrible joke ever told by human beings. And he told the whole set, and everybody was just like, "Oh my God." Jerry Doyle was fun. He was a prankster.
Yeah. And how about here you are on the right there, and there's Claudia.
Yep, Claudia Christian. That was the first season, because we had cars parked back there after the first season for some reason. And I don't know what that station wagon is. I'm not sure if that's left over from the vacation movies or what it is, who was driving that thing. But behind that was our lunch tent. So that's where, and everybody just ate together. There was no, hierarchy or anything. As the creator of Babylon 5 talks about a lot, how everybody just sat with everybody else. You'd be sitting there with a stuntman sitting over here, an extra over here, makeup person. Everybody just it was like a family. It was really cool.
My Claudia story is I was out pubbing I don't know if you call it pubbing in America, but I was out in Santa Monica one evening going from bar to bar, and there was it wasn't a speed dating event. It was like a dating event going on in the bar. And Claudia was sat there. And I went over and sat next to her and started talking to her. And I couldn't help myself. I brought up Babylon 5.
Was she cool about it?
She was cool about it. And but I feel like I blew my chances for, it was a singles thing. And
she was there?
She was there. I did not end up connecting with her, but part of me wishes I had have. But yeah, she's a great character. I don't know how she is as a person. You probably do.
Yeah, she was great. She was fun. Also, there weren't many people who were not fun. The only person I thought was a little eccentric was the guy who played Bester from Star Trek, Walter Koenig.
Yeah,
he was interesting. There was one day where for Halloween, our head lighting guy, one of the lighting guys, he had kind of long hair and he dressed like it was the 80s. We used to make fun of him because he had the old, 80s pants and stuff. And I decided to dress up like him for Halloween. And I nailed it. I had a wig and I just happened to be wearing the same thing, a black shirt and brown cargo pants is what he was wearing. I just happened to, by coincidence, wear that exact outfit. And I had all the, gadgets around my neck. And I'm standing there and Walter Koenig's right next to me. And he looks over at me. And the guy's name is John Smith, the guy that I dressed up as. And he looks over and he goes, "You're not really John Smith, are you?" And I said, "No, Walter, I'm not." And that was the end of the conversation. It was just so awkward.
That's funny. Now, we only have about 5 minutes of the show left, but I've got quite a lot of photos. So I'm going to throw up some photos, and I'm going to give like a 10-second bit of wisdom stuff about real aliens. And maybe if you have anything quick you want to chip in also.
Oh, yeah. What I was going to say also, as I think we discussed this earlier, is that whenever I see pictures of like computer-generated pictures of people that claim to have seen aliens, they all, I recognize them all as aliens I've played on Babylon 5, almost exactly sometimes.
Yeah, like that.
Well, that one's just, there was a mask. Yeah, the gray aliens. Then there's those reptilian aliens, the Drazi. Yeah. I see pictures of that all the time where it's like, oh my God, that looks just like something I played. So somebody had some wisdom on insight into real aliens, I think.
That is true. And I brought this photo up because long fingers. That is one of the things that we see in real aliens. And there are mummified alien bodies that are well documented now with these long fingers, usually 3 fingers.
Yep. They got the little bodies and the long fingers.
Yeah, there you are as a Narn. And Narns, there's a lot we can learn about the story progression of Narns who were overtaken and enslaved at one point in their history, and now they just want revenge, and that revenge brings them to ruin, basically. Okay. Do you have any interesting Narn-related stories?
Not really. I played that character quite a lot. So there was one scene where we're arresting a guy and we're taking him down the hallway, and I remember I slapped him on the back of the head, and the director goes, "That's good. Keep doing that." I'm like, okay, I'll slap somebody. I don't care. It's soft, so you can't feel it. I mean, the guy, didn't get hurt or anything.
And this is what Narns do.
Oh, that's our famous backcam. That phone behind you is kind of famous among Babylon 5 fans because it's the payphones were still in use, so everybody was using it. Nobody had cell phones yet, and that's us playing backgammon. I'm on the left side there, and we played backgammon for hours and hours and hours for years and years. Played for money. Nobody ever paid up, but that was what we did in between. Me and Michael Todd is his name.
Yeah.
He's on the right. And that's our hair. She does human hair there. Chinzia is her name.
Fantastic. You played some quite dark characters. The laser thing you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's where my fascination of lasers came about, is that scene right there. I'd never seen a laser before, and I could hit the studio wall across the studio, and I was like, oh my God, this is my thing. So now I have a bunch of them. Yeah, that was the day I think we were carrying Malari, Peter Jurasik, down the hallway in that scene and doing like probes, alien probes.
Yeah. And
G-rated, not the kind you hear about.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh, that was the maniac with the paintball, not the guy right next to me. I'm the Minbari on the right. The guy next to me, he's the one who would bring the paintball. That Mike Todd is my friend. He's holding the paintball right there. That's when he used to shoot cars on the 5 freeway with.
And on the left, we have a Centauri.
Yeah. That guy was a smug little. Won't say any words, but he thought he was too good for the show. He thought he was going to be famous. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was always looking down his nose like, I deserve better than this. I'm like, dude, you're getting paid. Wear your hair funny. Shut up.
And of course, the Centauri, that is their race is a direct commentary on imperialism. How trying to take over all of the space, all of the land, take over others, enslave others, that results in disaster for Centauri.
See, this is stuff I'm going to learn when I watch the show.
Yeah.
Now I know. Oh, that's kind of a cool picture. Yeah, like I said, the cast was very easygoing about taking pictures and stuff. You could just walk up, and nobody cared if you had a camera, unlike Star Trek, where you get thrown out on your behind if you got caught with a camera.
And yeah,
that's me on the right. I don't know who that other guy is, but that's just one of the Drazi days.
And there you are.
Yeah, Michael Todd. That's my buddy.
And these masks would be taken off and capped in the.
No, that was real makeup. The cowl you see, that's the head covering that goes over your head, just revealing your face, and then they glue a mask onto that, so it's a two-piece situation.
Right. I do feel sorry for this lady. That's
the jokes that day. Oh, I can't say in a family environment. But she had a rough day. She could only drink soup. She couldn't stick anything in her mouth. That thing was glued on real well.
Yeah, and of course, this image is from an episode which has real moral implications for our planet. In like
racism.
Yeah, it's any form of latching onto some difference between people that really doesn't matter, and the difference in this episode was the color of scars that were being worn.
Yep, I was green. And Claudia was. I had she elbows me at some point. Jerry Doyle comes in, and Garibaldi, and he's like, if anybody needs any help, he's trying to find her, and then she goes, Garibaldi, and she elbows me in the side, and she wouldn't do it hard, and I had the piece of plastic on there, so I couldn't feel anything. I said, Claudia, just hit me. She wouldn't do it. Finally, I said, hit me as hard as you can. And she did finally, but she was really nice about it. Like she was afraid she was going to hurt me. And then I get punched by Garibaldi.
Oh, that's really nice. Well, Rick, we're out of time. I do.
That went fast. I've never done one of these before, but that was really fast.
I feel like we could probably keep talking for another couple of hours.
Yeah, we could. Well, I'll come back anytime you want me. Just let me know. You got other pictures that you haven't shown yet.
That'd be awesome. I'd like to thank all of our audience members for being here. I apologize that we didn't get to a lot of your questions, but if Rick would like to come back sometime, we will absolutely do that.
Absolutely. Anytime. Just you got my phone number. Let me know.
If anybody's interested, this evening in about 2 hours, I am hosting an astral projection and remote viewing to the real Galactic Council of Aliens. If people are interested in checking that out, then please join our Patreon group or go to our Patreon group. If you need details of that, then send me a message anywhere you can, and I will happily send you the information. Also, next weekend, in about 10 days, I'm hosting an Alien Contact and Ascension retreat in California. If anybody's interested in that, send me a message.
I want to go. Also want a quick plug for my restaurant, Gone West Family Restaurant in Page, Arizona. If anybody's up in the area, stop by and I'll buy you a drink.
Fantastic. Page, Arizona, and the name of the restaurant?
Gone West Family Restaurant. Big restaurant. We got live music, 300 people. We get French people, a lot of French, Koreans, all over the world.
Très bien. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you, Rupert.
And take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.